What's up, everybody? Just making sure I am able to be heard. Sometimes the love that you have found is the love that you never found. It's the love that you will never find. Hopefully, people can hear me. I can hear myself too. I'm going to check my drop. Yeti, yeti. Oh, I see what the problem is. You can hear me, but I. All right, got the thing working. Holy shit. What's up, everybody? It's Keefe at ghostcoldman.com. Friday evening here on the West Coast. Super stoked to be with you. It's burning hot here, so I have the fan going. Sorry. But happy Friday. Happy New Music Friday. Happy Deftones album release. What a fucking time to be alive. First Deftones record in 5 years. The fan base is in a tither, as you would expect them to be, because they haven't had a record to complain about in a long ass time. So here I am doing the damn thing one more time. I'll get started in 1 second. As always, if this is your first time here, welcome, and please subscribe. David Wright 5050 is here. Hope that's a baseball reference. David Wright of the Mets. Let's see. I did a new album review last week of the brand new Insight album. I don't know if you're a fan of the extreme metals, but it was pretty damn awesome. Insight, one of the better new albums of the year. And then I thought I would come back in and do a review of Private Music. Far and away, the biggest and most well-read review of the year for Ghost Cult so far. Almost 5,000 views of and watches and shares and comments on our review, which I'm really proud of. Our own Majin Brudamesso wrote about it. I'll talk about her review later on. And tell me, drop a comment if you're excited about this new Deftones album, what your favorite song is. You don't like it, I'm here to listen to all comers, but I'm going to give my unfiltered, unbiased review. I've been a music reviewer for 20 years. I've interviewed thousands of bands. Ghost Cult Mag, if you're not familiar, please get acquainted. We are your 24/7 news source, not unlike Blabbermouth, not unlike Metal Sucks, not unlike Knotfest, the website, not unlike Metal Insider and Metal Injection. We're one of them. So if you like the music press, that's what I do. That's what we do. We have people all over the world writing reviews, going to concerts and festivals all the time, and doing album reviews. So fun times. It is about 10 million degrees, so I'm drinking my liquid death. Let's do this damn thing. I got the slide deck in the stage here. I made it just a little bit bigger so you can appreciate it. The best experience for this show is always Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube, but I like hanging out on TikTok, so feel free to join the conversation. I'm greatly appreciative of everyone that's here. Red October is here. Mad Max, what's up? Danella Drive, hey, what's up? We were just talking about your band yesterday. Good stuff. So yeah, thanks for being here, and we'll get underway now that everybody seems to be joining it. So Private Music, man, came out today on Warner Records. Deftones is one of those interesting bands that has been on the same label their entire career. You hear about bands, like honestly, just like a job. Changing record labels is the only way a lot of times to get a promotion or a raise. And Deftones have been on Warner. They signed originally to Maverick, which was an offshoot of Madonna's vanity label Maverick, under Warner Brothers Records, and they have been on the same label since 1994 when they signed. So that's kind of unbelievable. I know Slipknot has talked about a lot of issues with Roadrunner. Roadrunner is putting out Slipknot's big anniversary album of their 25th anniversary of their debut, which turned 25 last year. But so Private Music, we ran our review earlier in the week, and it just blew up, and we're really stoked about it. And I wanted to bring you a more personal review of the album. I listened to it today with my girlfriend. It was really amazing. We both were commenting on it and feeling affected by it. I'm a big Deftones fan right out of the gate. I have been from the very beginning, from Adrenaline. So I'm going to give you a little bit. What we do here on these videos is a little bit of an overview about Deftones for people who don't know about them and want to know some Deftones facts and information, and then I'm going to break down the record a little bit and talk about that. So thanks for being here. Let's do the thing. And again, drop a comment. This is your show too. Scooter, what up, my friend? Scooter, one of the Ghost Cult everydayers, just popped up on the gram. Scooter, we're reviewing the new Deftones album out today. Don't know if you're a fan, Scooter, but feel free to hang out and do the thing. Oh, I got the wrong band. I got the Glacially Musical band run from the other day. All right, fun times. So just a reminder, we are not corporate backed. So if people want to make a donation to us, I appreciate that. I am launching memberships on Substack and YouTube. So if you want to get basically an extra live stream a week privately between Substack and YouTube, I'm going to start doing those. So feel free to subscribe. You can subscribe for as little as 99 cents a month. You'd be really awesome if you gave 666, because that's rad. And my favorite number, beside 33. But here's where you can tip us. We take money on Cash App, Ko-fi, Venmo, PayPal, whatever the hell. And, once again, I'm just happy to be here and, glad to do the thing. It takes a lot of work and effort to do this much work in the music business without really full-time pay. But we do make some money from advertising. Just a reminder, some quick housekeeping before we get back into Deftones stuff. We are giving away 2 tickets to see Acid Bath live in LA next weekend. They're playing tonight in LA, but we have tickets to give away for next week's show if you missed tonight. If you're anywhere in the LA area, or you can get to LA 100%, enter to win on our website. It's one of the pinned posts on our website with a band photo of Acid Bath, and they are playing with Pig Destroyer and The Obsessed. The show is sold out. Don't miss it. We have tickets to give away. Also, we're giving away, that's the QR code in case you want to pause on it and do the giveaway there. Also, we're doing a giveaway for vinyl and CDs from the Glacially Musical podcast. That's my other podcast beside Ghost Cult. Feel free to sign up at the link pinned in the post at the top of our website, ghostcultmag.com, which is also scrolling along the bottom of this thing everywhere except TikTok. Thanks for being here. All right. That minutiae is out of the way. Let's talk about Deftones' private music. Man, they have done one of the better run-ups to an album release I have seen in a while. Similar to their last album. When they dropped Ohms, it was a free-for-all during the pandemic era. And they really only had about 8 weeks between the announcement of the record and the first single, and then the drop. So they did the same thing again this time, 5 years later, with a much less timeline, a much compressed timeline. They really announced the record 5 weeks ago with the first single, My Mind is a Mountain. Dropped one more single 2 weeks ago, Milk of the Madonna, and then that's it. This has been the record. But they've done a very nice job at kind of really engaging their fan base. They did these listening parties earlier in the week. They just announced them basically late last week or early over the weekend. They took place during this week. You signed up at a website at Deftones all around the world. They had these listening parties where you came in and they gave you a blanket and an eye mask. They want you to come in, darken the room, really like just only use your ears and experience the album, not anything else. I thought it was really interesting. Skullbasher's here. What up, what up? Topher is back. The name's Squirky B. What up, what up? Good to see you all here. Thanks so much for popping in. Piercing Metal is here, and Super Bianchos. Hey, it's like family popping in the stream. Thanks so much for being here. We're going to talk about the new Deftones today. So yeah, I love that they did these things in addition to these listening parties in which, like I said, they gave away swag like pins with the private music logo, which kind of looks like a snake head. They gave away these eye masks and blankets and other things. And then today, at independent record stores and major record stores all over the world, they're having these Deftones listening parties in the store where they're giving away posters and laminates and shirts and all kinds of things. There's also an indie exclusive version of the Deftones. I know the striking dark bright green is super fun with the white snake. And I think snakes are a theme of this album, or just the behavior of snakes. The snake shedding its skin, I think, was a personal theme, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Um, and I believe here's the purple variant of the green album. So it's the purple indie alternative variant of the record. Most of the main vinyl variants are green and white, translucent, and also I think there's a couple of obviously black 180 gram. Rebecca Dvorak is here, Annette is here, Mariposa is here, Enter Sandman is here, Mr. Enter Sandman to you. So good to see you all here on a Friday night. So yeah, I'm very excited about these different vinyl variants and all these different things. Super cool to get to go live with you and talk more about this. So let's drill down. By the way, just randomly, if you were wondering what the girl from the cover of Around the Fur looks like now, she is like a 40-year-old woman, a 45-year-old woman. Her birthday was this week, so very cool. I found this picture. I was showed it last night in my other live stream. I thought it was fun. So let's just talk about Deftones facts. Some things, if you somehow are not familiar with the band, or maybe you did not know, the Deftones formed way back in the 80s, in 1989. Steph Carpenter got in a skateboarding accident. He was hit by a car. I know there's been a lot of mythology around that, but that's when he learned how to play guitar. He taught himself to play guitar because he was in a wheelchair for a little while. He was fine otherwise. Continued to skateboard and damage his body for years. All the Deftones guys love BMX biking and skateboarding and graffiti and things. They have released 10 studio albums in 30 years since 1995. There was a series of Deftones demos and pre-release material. They did put out a sort of an EP before they put out Adrenaline on Maverick Records, as I mentioned at the top. Their OG bassist and personal hero to me, Chi Cheng, died in 2013. That was after he was in a persistent and vegetative state for almost 10 years. Very tragic, definitely altered the course of the band. Of their records, obviously diehard Deftones fans think all of their records are great, but honestly, White Pony is considered their absolute 10 of 10 classic. I tend to agree. They have a lost, unreleased album called Eros. We've been talking a lot about bands with records they're sitting on that they never put out. Slipknot is one of those bands. Eros is the record they were working on when She was injured in his car accident and was in a coma, and then they scrapped the record. They have occasionally played songs from Eros, including the song Eros, at their Dia de los Deftones festival that happens every year. They have 10 million albums sold approximately, depending on streaming. Their most streamed song, I believe, is Change in the House of Flies at 582 million streams on platforms like Spotify. Gore was Ghost Cult's Album of the Year in 2016, and Ohms was Ghost Cult's Album of the Year in 2020. It was kind of like an upset. I wouldn't say that the majority of our staff are Deftones fans, but I just think they recognize the album and its qualities. The only other band to have won twice is Ghost. So it'll be very interesting to see with Ghost and Deftones both with albums out this year. Will they compete against each other and or take votes away from each other maybe? It should be very interesting. We'll do our Album of the Year voting and reveal in December. Some facts about Private Music. It was recorded over 2023 and 24. Band has toured, played a lot of festivals. Much has been talked about Steph Carpenter not touring anymore, not flying for sure, and certainly not going anywhere a tour bus doesn't go. I mean, the guy feels like he's made a lot of money. He's talked openly about his anxiety, and I think I know it's people who are not Deftones fans want to clown on Steph because he's smokes a lot of weed and he's maybe a flat earth guy or whatever. He's got some radical thoughts about conspiracy theories, but like he feels like he's made enough money, and if he's happy staying home, let him stay home and make music. And he has launched a new band, a sort of supergroup called Solid Victo. Chino, of course, has Crosses. I wonder if Chino won't do a solo album someday. That sounds even more different than all these other things. This album was co-produced by the band and Nick Rastulenitz. Nick has produced Diamond Eyes and Koi no Yokon, he's the only other producer to produce 3 Deftones records besides Terry Date, the infamous producer of Pantera and Soundgarden, who has produced 4 Deftones records. Fred Sablin played bass on the new record, Private Music, but he has not been made a full member yet, replacing Sergio Vega. We'll talk about him in a second. And I think before we heard the Private Music, first single, My Mind is a Mountain, I think hey, Jamie, what's up? I think a lot of people, we're here talking about the new Deftones record, Private Music. I'm doing a little review and recap here. I think a lot of people were, Ohms was predominantly, shoegazy and dream pop. It was heavy for sure, but it was much more, sort of romantic, not that different than going to Yokon or Saturday Night Wrist, which the band doesn't seem to like very much because of the experience making it with producer Bob Ezrin of Pink Floyd fame. And I felt like maybe, having seen them live the last few years and watched them kill it, I felt like, oh, they're going to ride this, they're going to do a heavy album. And I was right. This is a very heavy album. It definitely has some melodic stuff, and still the shoegazy Deftones sound is still a part of this record, but I absolutely am thrilled with how many bangers are on this record. So first and foremost, first thoughts about Private Music is it's heavier and more riffy, like the first 3 Deftones records. The heavier stuff, there's definitely some nu metal riffs, there's some thrashy riffs on here, but there's also some, we'll talk about guitar layering and things like that Steph likes, the different dichotomy that lay within him as a writer and a song maker. I think these are super interesting things. Industrial Schlock is here. What's up? Cool name. So also, Chino gave a new interview just this week where he said that a lot of this record is directly inspired by him becoming sober after the pandemic. He was drinking too much during the pandemic, and that maybe it was affecting him and his work ethic and maybe his abilities even. I think the last 4 or 5 years, Chino has obviously got very fit, and maybe drinking less is a big part of that. And he looks fantastic. He sounds fantastic. He's got tremendous stamina as a performer. Everyone who has seen Deftones knows he jumps all around the stage. The stage is actually designed and built for him to jump around a lot on stage. It's pretty cool. I feel like Chino is a lot more experimental on this album comparatively to the Ohms and even Gore. I think those albums had a little more straight up vocal style from him, and I think he really stretched himself out on this album in new ways and also in very familiar ways. So if you love Chino and you love Deftones and there's that familiar romantic, sensual vocals by Chino, you're going to love that. But I think there's also absolute killer screaming. There's a little less screaming than usually, but it's in places. There's some rapping that's sneaking back in. Chino always wanted to distance the band away from nu metal, especially after Back to School and White Pony and the first few albums. And there's even some vocal range stuff on here that I have never heard him do before, just very deep and resonant and surprising, that I think will really shock even longtime fans. I think a few people have noted that the bass lines are very old school Deftones style, like Chi Cheng used to do on Adrenaline and Around the Fur, with very rolly bass lines, ostinato bass, which is a classical music term that means kind of a repeating, throbbing bass line. Which gives a lot of movement to the songs, whatever the drums and guitars do. Great drumming by Abe Cunningham. Absolutely beautiful guitar layering by Steph. They did not let any of the touring guitar players collaborate in terms of writing. Chino also plays guitar, as you know. I think Frank also plays guitar. And speaking of Frank, I think Frank has a much more prominent role on the band now. He's further up in the mix. Maybe that has to do with Nick and the band just highlighting Frank a lot more, which is really cool. I always felt he was an integral part of the band. He actually played on the first 2 records and didn't become a full member until White Pony, or right before it. So there's definitely some surprising keyboard and kind of turntablist stuff, not quite scratching, but things that he's doing creatively with synths and keys and turntables that Frank is known for. And again, like I said, Chino absolutely flirting with nu metal again, rapping just a little bit of that staccato delivery that he does so freaking well. So talking a little bit more about the album now, I'm just going to highlight some of the songs. I have thoughts on every song. Obviously, we've heard My Mind is a Mountain is the first single. The video is played a lot. was teased on social media heavily. It's just an absolute banger. It does what it needs to do. It opens up the record. They always have killer first tracks. They never ease into anything really that I can think of. They're all pretty raging. Lock Club is very heavy with another great Steph chop riff. Ecdysis has been talked about as maybe the pinnacle track on the album by fans, and I would tend to agree also. I think it really is a phenomenal track, and it is apparently directly referencing Chino's sobriety, which again, I think has been a key thing for him to get healthy and also to make better music. I think that's, just a wonderful thing. Infinite has an absolute sick riff and really reminds me of Koa no Yokon and Diamond Eyes with these big choruses, but like a very urgent verse. Source Souvenir is the longest track on the album. It's very moody and interesting. Sex, spelled CXZ, goes hard. Unsurprising. Deftones are frequently cited as being a very romantic and sexual inspiring band, and I'll just say in concert, Egg's going to be dropping if they play this one. I Think About You All the Time is very chill. It's got some White Pony vibes, not too far from Changing the House of Flies and Digital Bath, even without the beat. Milk of the Madonna, we know, second single, a super banger with a wonderful vocal hook. Cut Hands has again got that early Deftones new metal sound, just a bit, just enough. Not 100% turn into it, but just enough of an aggression that I like. And again, very great and unique vocals by Chino. Metal Dreams, a big ass rocker, could be another single. I think was a surprise today that they put another song out. But maybe Metal Dream will be another big single. Tremendous bass line, and that's where some of that rapping is. And then it closes with maybe the most unique song the Deftones have done in about 10 years. It's like so original and different for them. To me, Departing the Body, absolute moody, incredible range displayed by Moreno vocally, and just, what a great way to close the record, because I think, bands don't know. They have a couple of good tracks, but they don't really know how to finish off any, records sometimes. I think that's a frequent problem with bands. What's your favorite song on this record? Do drop a comment and let us know, whether during this live stream or after. And I think for 10 albums in 30 years, and a couple of live records and bootlegs and covers records and stuff, B-sides and rarities, very few bands are this consistent. I don't think the Deftones have a bad record. They obviously don't like Saturday Night Wrist because they did not like making it with Bob Ezrin. They don't, that's a very bad time for them in the world. They probably will never put out Eros as long as they're making new music as a band and they're active. I don't think this is a farewell album. I think this is the beginning of a new era, and I think the next record will come faster and sooner, because I think the outlets and side projects of Deftones help Deftones. They don't make it harder to be Deftones. So I think they're going to continue to do more music and probably have another record in 3 years or so. But I love Private Music. This is going to be one of my top albums of the year so far. Our review at Ghost Cult gave it an 8. I would go higher and give it a 9. And I'm sure, again, if you're just a Deftones stan, you're going to absolutely love this record, because it's kind of like a greatest hits of Deftones classic sounds across their whole career. But I'm going to read this final quote from Magen Brudamesso's Deftones review, which is, overall, Private Music showcases Deftones' versatility and growth in experimenting with noisier, shoegaze instrumentation while incorporating the mix of dark, thrashy, and sultry elements we all know and love. Basically what I said, better summed up, because she is much more articulate than I. So yeah, let's talk a couple of things going on with Deftones. They're kicking off a new headline tour tonight in British Columbia and Vancouver. I saw them this spring. They were fucking flawless, almost the best I've ever seen them. Their stage show is absolutely stellar. If you have not seen them in a long time, you definitely want to go. Fred Rum is here. What's up, Fred Rum? And let's see what else. They're going to be playing the big Danny Wimmer festivals. And they're kicking off this tour with Barbarians of California and they're playing the UK and Europe this winter. I anticipate there will be another US tour next spring or summer. There will be European festivals next summer. They already played some. I can absolutely see that happening. And of course, they are playing the Danny Wimmer festivals, Louder Than Life and Aftershock. We are expecting to cover both of those. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Deftones headline. I believe it's day 2 of the festival on Friday. And yeah, just super stoked for Deftones. Really excited for Private Music. Absolutely so far, one of my top albums of the year. Not sure where it'll be in the end. Probably in the top 5, looking at the albums that have come out this year so far. And yeah, that's it for now. We'll be back. We've got some, new videos rolling out all weekend. We got a live video rolling out tomorrow on our YouTube channel from Decapitated, our Music Friday preview for next week. August 29th will roll it during the weekend at some point. You can check us out at the Ghost Cult Magazine podcast. And of course, follow us and check out our link tree and of course our website at ghostcultmag.com. And that's all I've got for today. He's commenting at the peanut gallery at the last second by my boy Mike. How about commenting sooner? And yeah, so that's the whole deal, man. That's Deftones Private Music. 2 thumbs up from me. Definitely an 8 or 9 out of 10. Go check out the review at our website. And that's it for now. Have a good weekend. Don't drink and drive. Be safe. And see you in the next one. Keefy out. Peace.